Okay, speaking of headlines, let's talk about media literacy and what that has to do with timelines, manifestation, creating the world we want to see. I have a unique perspective on this because, in addition to being a psychic, a professional psychic, before this was my career, I was actually a journalist, as I said in my last video, and I worked in a newsroom for 4 years. So I understand not only media literacy, but I understand the usage of language to convey a story. Now, of course, the goal of journalism is to present the facts in as neutral a way possible, which is why Fox News is not journalism, but we know this. So I've learned throughout my career and just life that there is no true way to be objectively neutral. None. Unless you keep to the absolute bare minimum of facts. It is raining now. Otherwise, everything comes with a perspective. Now, a perspective is different than an opinion, but not really. An opinion is, I feel this way about things, regardless of whether or not there are hard facts to back it up. This is an emotional decision. And a perspective is similarly, but a perspective colors how we perceive something that's happening. So here's an example. In the post I made, was it yesterday, the other day, where it was like Republicans going down, I put a lot of facts in there. And also a heaping dose of opinion. And the reason I do that is because of how my perspective shapes the way I see facts. So one fact that I added in my video is that Republican lawmakers were fighting over the budget bill. My perception allows me to see that with comic hilarity, because I find joy in the crumbling, I sure do. But that allowed me to see this as evidence supporting the worldview that I have, that Republicans are currently imploding, and this is yet another thing that is hastening their demise by their own hand. Now, another person with a different perspective could see this as perhaps the Republicans are being given a bill that the Democrats have set them up to fail. Something that's not even relevant to the story, but do you see what I mean? Or that lawmakers are so unstable, we're all doomed. So we started with a fact, and then depending on your perception, that's how you form your opinion and your worldview. The worldview being, this is absolutely how it is, and I just have to deal with it. Now, most people are going through the world completely unconscious of the fact that their worldview is actually an opinion. It's not actual reality. But because they have perceived, interacted with, and thus created stories or adopted other people's stories, they've actually created their world. That's what we mean by that. You create your reality. I see the world through the lens of things always have a way of working out. There's always something good from everything. What good can come now that this has happened? You guys have heard me talk about this, right? I've done videos. It's in my emotional support playlist, Mantras for Terrible Times. The way you view the world shapes your reality. And then continuing on that, when you get real metaphysical, that's how we hop timelines. Manifestation is how we hop timelines. I'm going to manifest a world in which the Republicans implode, and then I go through the world looking for evidence of that, aligning with that. That's manifesting and getting myself on a timeline where that happens. So I'm not, creating facts out of thin air, but I'm looking at the facts and saying, okay, how can this be perceived, interpreted in such a way that builds the narrative of the world I want to live in? And then I'm going to look for more facts that support it. I'm not creating facts. These aren't alternative facts. I am using my perspective to read into the situation to see how those facts support my worldview. Now, what this has to do with media literacy is you need to understand that this is how it works for journalism. Whether they know it or not, they are always putting their perception into it. And so people are like, well, they're trying to scare you and they whatever. I mean, some outlets, sure, absolutely. But having worked in local news for 4 years, these people aren't trying to scare you. They're just news people with a perspective. And when you are neck deep in the news around the clock, your perspective gets to be pretty bleak, honestly, pretty adrenaline fueled and chaotic. And so that perception comes through in all the stories they choose and how they report on it, how they stack their news stories, how they build a newscast. So that's also why in my video, I threw a little shade to Aaron Parnas, which, side note, I think he's doing fantastic work. I think independent journalism like his and others is world-changing work. It's vital. It's necessary. So I'm not hating on him overall. But I made that comment because if you follow him for a long time, you notice his reports tend to be more fatalistic and final, even when things are not final. great example of that in the days leading up to the second TikTok deadline. He was saying TikTok will go away in X days. And that wasn't true. That wasn't even likely to happen. And I know that because I had been following the news religiously as a creator. And I knew how many people were in the works to buy TikTok, how many negotiations were happening. The likelihood of no deal happening or it going away on that day was very low. Now, I knew that because of my own research, but we can use media literacy to help us parse through and determine what is a neutral fact and what is being delivered with a context, a perception, and a worldview that is not neutral, that is not even real. An example of that is reporting on the tariffs. So a journalist would say, he has announced that this will happen. And then they're going to find experts to build out the story and say, okay, if this happens, then what? And so they put together all these facts to build the arc of the story to inform the public. But if we're not careful, we read these stories and we tend to feel like this is what will happen. This is inevitable. This is a done deal. Economists say this will happen. But anytime you have a will, that's based on a lot of assumptions. And this is where my perception as a psychic comes into play, because I see the potential realities. I see all the different ways it can play out, and I can see and feel the version of reality that is most likely to manifest. And that's how we read the future. We're reading the potential energies that have the most likelihood of manifestation of becoming the outcome. But I'm going to completely blow your mind, okay? When psychics and people talk about free will is at play. A lot of people perceive that as, well, I want this thing, but someone else's free will can take that away from me. And that is not true. Free will is your choice, your perception. If I hear that TikTok is absolutely going to go away and I panic and I convince myself that that's true, or I become bitter and I say, well, they're going to tank the app and I'm going to... How you use your mind to perceive the facts or the rumors or the whisperings is your free will. That is you using your free will, using your choice to create your reality. That is why I have spent so much time helping you heal and giving you mindset shifts and bigger picture perspectives and presenting neutral facts from a completely positive, joyful, ridiculous perspective. Because all of these things have an equal likelihood, well, not equal, some more than others. All of these things have some likelihood of being the end reality. And if we are putting all of our attention on the terrible ones and giving up and saying, well, okay, that's it, you are using your free will to create that reality, to create that future. I am using my free will to say, hey, look over here. This is also happening. And here's a way to perceive it. That is also true. Would you rather live in this reality? Because I would. And that's what I'm creating. That's what I'm manifesting for myself. That's the reality, the timeline I'm migrating myself towards. Nothing irks me more than hearing people say, I'm on the wrong timeline and I'm gentle about it because it takes a lot of understanding to be able to even refute that in a comment. So I don't. But the reality is, my friends, you are never on a timeline by accident. We all get ourselves onto timelines. It's our choice. We do it. The way we view the world, the things we accept, the things we agree with, the battles we haven't won yet, the challenges we have yet to conquer, all of these things are what put us on a timeline. So anyone who is complaining about a timeline and feeling like a victim of a timeline, you got yourself on that timeline. It's for a reason. So figure that shit out. Change your perspective, migrate yourself toward a higher timeline. You have the power. You absolutely have the power. Nobody else but you. So fix your mindset, fam. Read between the lines, get to the facts. You are allowed to perceive the facts in a way that builds your world in a positive way. And that, my friends, is how we create the new earth and migrate toward it together.